As a result of Nintendo's decision to lock each Nintendo Switch to one island in Animal Crossing New Horizons, many players have been faced with the decision of either buying a whole new console to be able to have a second island, or are being forced to reset their existing islands if they want a fresh start to the game. I know there's been a lot of debate surrounding whether it's better to reset your island or to flatten it, and this video will only partially be contributing to that conversation. Today I want to talk to you guys about why I will never and have never reset my island in Animal Crossing New Horizons. This will definitely be more of a discussion type video. On the screen you'll just see clips of me cleaning up my island from one of my most recent Nookazon experiment videos, as well as me doing the Mayday maze for this year and generally just doing some daily type stuff on my island, so feel free to just have this video playing in the background and to just listen along. This video will also be broken into 4 sections. I'll have the chapters down below so you can navigate those if you would like to. I really wanted to bring this video out a month or so ago on March 20th so that it would be kind of like an anniversary celebration, but with the stuff that I had on my plate at the time, it just didn't happen, so I hope you guys don't mind that it's only coming out now. One thing I really quickly want to mention is the Discord server for this channel. I announced it last week, but just in case some of you guys missed that video, here's a little reminder. The link to join will be in the description down below. I'd love to get to know you guys some more, but let's just get into this video because I've got a lot to say. So in order for me to explain to you guys why I will never reset my island, I think it's really important to first chat about my experience with the start of the game, and so the start of my island back in the end of March last year, because I have been playing the game since launch. So I'd been awaiting the game to be released since it was announced, and in those weeks leading up to it coming out, I had a lot of university assignments to do, so I was working really hard to be able to get those finished and submitted early, so I didn't have to worry about anything for a little while after the game came out. But in every study break I gave myself, I consumed as much Animal Crossing pre-release content like discussion videos and stuff like that as I could. Skip to the night before Animal Crossing New Horizons was released, I made it into a total ritual. During the evening before, I played some Witcher to try and distract myself from my own excitement. When I was going to bed that night, I went back and rewatched all of the E3 content which had come out the summer before. Thinking back to this now, to a time when Animal Crossing wasn't even released yet, it's kind of funny actually. Next, skipping to the morning of, because I'd ordered a physical copy of the game, it arrived around 11 AM, but before it arrived, I went to the shop and I got lots of snacks and kind of picnic type food to sustain me throughout that day. I then booted up the game and played it for 10 hours. Suffice to say, I was absolutely loving it. I woke up super early the next morning and I just started playing it straight away, and that kept happening for me for about the entire first week of the game. All the while, I was constantly listening to the streams of people like RT Game and Andrew Arcade, who were also playing the game to keep me company, which, looking back now, I'm so extremely grateful for all that content they were putting out. Because I think here it's important to bring up the circumstances in which the game had, by some miraculous coincidence, been released. So right around March 20th, 2020 was the time that people were really starting to take the pandemic seriously in the UK. At that time, I was in my university halls of residence, and all but one girl other than me had left our little collection of rooms. And also at that time, I thought I'd still be staying there until the end of the semester, because my family home was 400 miles away and I had a room full of belongings, so moving with the new travel restrictions that had been put in place was going to take some planning. So when the game was initially released, it was a bloody amazing outlet for me. If the game hadn't come out then, I have no idea what I would have done during that first week, during which I quite literally did not go outside the entire time. I just stayed in my bedroom, went into our little kitchen for food, and of course to the bathroom. A week later, however, I was lucky enough to be able to make it back to my family home. But again, looking back now, it's a little bit scary to think about how my mental health may have suffered if this game didn't come out, which to many people would sound dramatic, but hopefully not to the people who are watching this video. Animal Crossing New Horizons was a light in the darkness, which was the uncertainty surrounding the state of the world at that point in time. But anyway, let's get back to the happy stuff to talk about. During these very early days of the game for me were also the very early days of the game for a lot of players, and of course for all players players at that time. Cottagecore hadn't been invented yet, these hyper-aesthetic island goals hadn't been created yet. There was, dare I say, less pressure in how we played the game, as we were all just bumbling around together. Data miners hadn't even figured out just how complex it really was to breed blue roses yet. We were all discovering the joy of the game together, and it was a really special feeling. The first week of the game before you unlock resident services, when you just have the guitar music and the sounds of the wind and the environment around you, was just so pure, and that's the only way I can describe it. I would wake up early again every day just out of the excitement of seeing what new tasks I would be faced with that day in the game. I would be so excited to travel to my few other friends' islands who also had the game at the time just to see what they had in their nook's cranny. Guys, I'm talking about the time before Treasure Islands and Nookazon had even been thought of yet. I'd spend hours fishing, collecting bugs, and just visiting mystery islands over and over again to harvest materials. It again felt like such a special time, which I had not experienced with a game in a really long time. And so all of this brings me to the point of this video and to discussing why I will never restart my island. I won't restart my game because this is my island. This is the place that probably prevented me, as I mentioned, from falling into some really poor mental health in a really scary and uncertain time. I owe so much of it to this island, to this game. I feel such a connection to it. I may not feel happy with it all the time. I know I have expressed briefly with you guys in different videos how, especially during the winter, I felt like everything I designed was rubbish, but it's my island. I've sunk so many hours into it that I simply just cannot go back to the start. And I know that some players will easily sink over 1,000 hours into an island to just then dash it and to restart, but for me, I don't feel like I could ever do that. And again, speaking of the start, because of these circumstances which I initially started the game in, all the free time I had to dedicate to the game, all the time I needed to fill with fun things to stop me from getting down, I don't think I'll have that same feeling or experience again. So I don't want to risk restarting in case I get frustrated because I don't have all the bells, because I have to go and collect all the fossils again, because I don't want to tarnish those first memories of doing everything for the first time. It's like any other kind of media that you consume for the first time, I guess. You know, the first time you read a new book, the first time you watch a new film. It's just never quite the same after the first time. And I know it's only pixels, and I may be being way too sentimental about this, but hey, that's kind of pretty simply why I'll never restart my island. And to be a little bit less deep with you guys, to be honest, another reason why I won't restart my island is because I just don't have the time to go back and again gather all the materials, all the DIYs, all the furniture, collect all the fossils, bugs, fish, everything. I just don't have the time, and that's why I'm way more on the side of flattening islands rather than restarting. It's quite frankly out of sheer laziness. And maybe it's even fear. Maybe I'm just afraid to restart my island because I'm scared I'll never get back to the point where my island is right now. Maybe part of me knows that I'll, again, just never be able to get that exact same feeling again of the excitement of discovering everything for the first time. And I really hope that nobody thinks I'm throwing any shade at the people who do restart their islands or buy another Switch to get a second island. Heck, I wish that I could afford to get a second Switch so that I could also have another island. And I honestly really enjoy watching streamers and other content creators who do decide to restart their islands. I get kind of, a kick from seeing the game in its fresh, clean state where, your island is just nature. We haven't built anything, we haven't terraformed any of that. And just again hearing the game with the prologue music, it makes my heart feel happy. I just wanted to share my thoughts with you guys today in case anybody else was getting to that point with that island where they were thinking about restarting but were looking for some advice. Again, although this video isn't coming out on March 20th, 2021 like I initially wanted it to, I thought it'd be nice to bring in that little bit of retrospective, but to also have a look at where I am with the game right now. Sorry, rewind that. I'm interested in playing the same game 1 year later. I think a game has to be pretty special to be able to maintain such a strong player base for that long like this game has. But I don't think we can give all the credit to Nintendo. While they have of course created the game, it's the community which have sprung up in support of this game which has made it truly special. And I know that for a lot of players, the community around this game is what has kept them playing and so motivated to play for so long. This is quite random, but an absolutely amazing girl called Liberty reached out to me and asked if I wanted to do an interview for a journalism project she was working on. And the questions she asked me really got me thinking about the Animal Crossing community and my experiences with it. I have never actively participated in a gaming community like this before, even though I've been playing games in general for a good part of my life now, but Animal Crossing New Horizons was the game that drew me in. I've personally stuck to the sub-communities of a few smaller Animal Crossing content creators like Holly Crossing, the Kozan, and Lilith Fox, and they have all been such uplifting spaces to be in. Again, as these have been the first online communities I've really been involved in, it's been quite a surreal experience in some moments. I remember I was in one of Holly Crossing's streams on my birthday back around Christmas, and everybody in her chat was sending me birthday wishes. Heck, people in her Discord even sent me birthday wishes that morning before many of my in real life friends had. And again, it was just such an uplifting feeling. And these communities have even motivated me to want to grow my channel and to nurture our own little community here. And again, we've just taken a really big step towards that with the launching of the channel's Discord server. And on the same note, a year ago, I could not have foreseen the fact that I'd be sat here talking to you guys, making my own YouTube videos, and it all really started with this game. One thing I really want to touch on today's chatty little video is my thoughts on how the game could improve, because as much as I've been gushing about it today, it still has a lot of room to improve. Nintendo recently, of course, put out the update which gave us a lot of new design slots and other stuff like that, which was great, and for players who love to get crazy with their designs, that must have been an absolute dream. I was certainly glad to have more design slots, although I've never been crazy pushed for them. However, and I know I'm not being crazy original when I say this, but I want more gameplay aspects to be brought to the game. I want old characters to return from previous games, old features to return. Thinking back to how the game looked over a year ago without the updates and stuff that they've brought to the game since, it looked completely different to how it does now. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I lost my gosh darn mind when we got the update which brought shrubs and hedges to the game. I don't even remember a time when they weren't in the game and when we couldn't use them for decorating. But if we're only going to be getting more visual stuff like furniture items added to the game from now on to fuel the raging inferno which is the Animal Crossing design community, I'd like more features which are similar to shrubs or plantables like pumpkins added to the game, and that's because these items still have some minor gameplay aspects attached to them and require more than just to be placed like regular objects. I actually have a whole list of objects and mechanics that I'd love to be added to the game at some point, which I've kind of just thought of randomly over the last year or so let me know if you'd like to see me discussing those in a future video. And one final thing I'd like to be added to the game to help improve it is new buildings. I know a lot of players don't want new buildings added to the game because they don't want to have to change up their islands to fit them in. But is that not part of the point of New Horizons? To keep molding your islands as the game evolves? But I guess I can also see the argument for people who have got their islands just the way they want them and don't want to have to go back and change them. I guess I just don't fall into that camp because I see my island as more of a constant work in progress rather than a finished product, but I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts about that down below. So this was actually a kind of weirdly emotional video to write and record, honestly, and I'm so sorry if you guys kind of came here for a light-hearted time and I didn't necessarily deliver on that like I usually try to in my videos. Maybe it's just because I'm looking back on how far I and generally the world has come in the last 14-ish months, and just thinking how for a lot of us Animal Crossing has remained one of the only constants in some senses, you know? But with that being said, I'd love to hear about you guys' experience with the start of the game, whether you started on March 20th like I did, or whether you started at any point in the last 14-ish months. I'd love to continue this conversation down below and generally get to know your thoughts on resetting islands as well. But despite the fact this video might have got a bit deep in places, I hope you guys did enjoy it. Again, drop any thoughts you have down below. I'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to check out the Discord if you're interested. I hope you guys are having an amazing day, and I'll see you again soon.